Salinas lithium project is one that's been pretty well known in the market, but to tell us more about it, Mitch Thomas, the CFO of Latin Resources, is with us. Please welcome Mitch.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just check you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Latin Resources, and a really big thank you to Aspermont and Mining News for putting this on. It's been a very productive day one, and looking forward to getting into day two. And so look, for those who may be unfamiliar with Latin Resources, we've been around for about 15 years, but it's fair to say that the last 2 to 3 years have been, I guess, quite transformational for us, and that's really following the discovery of the Salinas project in Minas Gerais, Brazil. And look, I'll get into the detail, but it's a hard rock spodumene lithium project, and I think it has a very exciting future, so very happy to share, I guess, some key upcoming milestones with you here today. There we go. Hey, look, so a quick slide on the market, and I won't go into too much detail here because you've probably heard it from a number of other presenters, but I think it's fairly well supported that there is a supply deficit in lithium, and that deficit is going to increase as EV penetration and other, I guess, technologies take shape. The point in showing this slide here today is really more to show the role that spodumene has played and will continue to play in servicing this lithium and EV demand thematic. And look, just to really highlight a key point on the graph is that you can see that in 2020, that the role that spodumene played was contributing about 200,000 tonnes of LCE into the market. So that needs to quadruple by 2025, so grow 4 times, which is absolutely massive, and also be the main contributor to lithium supply at that point. And that trend continues in the forecast that we're putting here, which was supplied by Benchmark. So look, the reason why spodumene is so important is articulated to the right of the slide. But to really break it down, it's just that it works. So it's the existing technology. It's got a clean kind of pathway to market. It's very cost effective. And so the point I'm trying to get at is that, look, if you want to be in the lithium sector right now, you can choose a number of pathways to market. But we're very firm believers that spodumene is the best and most efficient pathway there. And fortunately, our project is a spodumene project, so suits our mantra very well. So look, a quick map of South America. So we do have projects in Australia, but we also have a number of projects in South America. The focus of the presentation today will be on Salinas in Brazil. But the point in showing this slide is to say that we've been in South America for a bit over 15 years. And I guess with that comes core competency in terms of getting projects to market. So the team of management at Latin Resources, we've all lived and worked in South America or are South American. And the benefit that really brings is that there are lots of lithium projects out there, but when I look at the market, so not necessarily just talking about our project, is I want to back projects that can get into market quickly. And so, something that's being discovered today, it probably won't get into production this decade. Whereas I think the jurisdiction that we're in and the team that we have, we can take our project to market very quick. And I think the market is starting to acknowledge that. We've had a very strong, run in our share price in the last 6 months. So just in terms of, what's going to facilitate getting into market as quick as possible. And I think really the key attribute is where we're located. So being in Minas Gerais in Brazil is a fantastic place to do extractive industry. As on the slide it points out, there are over 300 operating mines, so Rio, BHP, Vale, a lot of the big producers. I think the key point for me is that, look, we're in the lithium industry. There's no point doing what you're doing if you're not doing it sustainably is kind of my take on things. And the fact that in this part of the world we have a electricity grid backed by hydroelectricity is fantastic. It gives us such a head start compared to producers in WA, to be honest. And also, in addition to being green, we're getting electricity at about 2 to 5 cents a kilowatt hour. So incredibly cheap, very green, and gives us a great head start. Other points to highlight is that the infrastructure, so getting things in and out with the roads and port is quite straightforward. We're actually located 380 kilometres away from the biggest bulk export facility in Brazil, serviced by actually, a competitor, but also a company we're very close with, Sigma Lithium, who I'll touch on later. And then probably the most important point in terms of jurisdiction and project footprint is water. And from our flow sheet perspective, look, we're actually on the verge of finishing our PEA at the moment, but we're recycling water at the moment, and we'll do that in operation. We'll have dry stack tailings. So again, in this very important area of mining, I think we're in a very good position. So overall, very happy to be in Minas Gerais in Brazil. So look, touching on the resource, so as a bit of history, we discovered the resource in 2019, but I think with everything that COVID entailed, we really didn't start drilling until early 2022. So we drilled about 10,000 metres in 2022, and that led to a maiden resource in December of last year, and that was about 12 million tonnes. So since then, and about 6 months later, we released a resource upgrade in June of this year, and that was 45.2 million tonnes at 1.34% lithium. So in the space of 6 months, nearly 3 times our resource. And so where that puts us, for those unfamiliar with the industry, is that 45.2 million tonnes actually makes us one of the largest undeveloped lithium projects in the world. But I think from a company perspective, it's fair to say that we're just getting started. So to I guess, achieve the resource upgrade in June, we had to stop the drills, or not to stop the drills, but stop the assays in about May. We've been drilling 24/7 since then, and we currently have about 11 drill rigs on site. So we're going to put a resource upgrade into the market in about November. And again, I think the point on this slide is really just to hammer home that this resource is already massive, but it's getting even bigger, and we're very, I guess, excited about what we're seeing out of the ground. Given we're drilling so much, this slide's a little bit out of date, so I'll actually go to this one, which I think tells the story a little bit better. In the colorized area to the top right, if you can kind of make that out, that's what supports the existing resource of 45.2 million tonnes. The hypothesis that we're testing, and I think we've really proven it with the assays that we've released into the market and the drilling that we're seeing, to support that, is that we think that resource is duplicating. So pegmatites, work in swarms, and we think we're seeing a continuation of what we're seeing in that colorized area extend along this southwest trend. So we've actually mapped out a 4-kilometre strike, as you can see on the chart, and we're very excited to get the results into the market later this year. And again, really seeing this resource extend. And I guess from a mining perspective is that compared to maybe some peers that have more isolated pits that they'll be mining from, we're really seeing this firm up as a district of lithium. So at least 4 kilometres, which will be one day a very large open pit mine. And I'll touch on the schedule just in a few slides' time. Okay, so look, the last slides were kind of the near term in the next 6 to 12 months. So this is more the vision that we're seeing longer term. And the chart or the image to the top right is probably a little bit hard to make out, but the point on that one is to say that we're busy, very busily testing this 4-kilometre strike, which is very prospective and it will support our initial operation. But we actually have mapped out about a 26-kilometre strike, so absolutely massive. And maybe one area to highlight is that we have this area called Fog's Block, which is about 12 kilometres away from Kalina, which is our maiden resource. That's also showing signs of great prospectivity. So I think if you have to think about it in a business sense, we kind of have a first horizon, a second horizon, and even a third horizon of resource growth presenting. And again, to support a very large lithium district that is kind of unravelling in front of us, which is very exciting. So perhaps moving away from resource, and I think before I get into the detail on this slide, I don't think I said at the start, but I'm the CFO of Latin Resources, so nothing overly technical. So very much look at things with a business mindset. And when I'm looking at projects, and in particular lithium projects, I'm very keen to focus on first the resource. And so you want to make sure that you have a resource big enough. And I think we definitely tick that box. So that one is an easy tick for us. The second one is, how is it going to be in terms of mining? And for us, look, I don't have a cross-section here, but clearly it's an open-cut mine and, very simple traditional approach to mining. So from a mining perspective, we're in a very strong position. The next question, I ask, and this often sees projects maybe face complications, is that the met sometimes can be difficult. But for us, look, we've been testing at a pilot level at SGS Lakefield in Canada, which is one of the best spodumene test facilities in the world. And the truth is the results have been fantastic. So on the slide, we're showing recoveries above 90%, reporting to a 5.5% con. That will scale down in operation, and in our studies we'll kind of show the level which is probably the more efficient for mining. But we're seeing excellent recoveries compared to our peers. I think some of the best results that this facility's seen, which is great. And the other benefit to highlight here is that we're doing it with a DMS-only flow sheet. So In Western Australia, most of the operating spodumene mines are using flotation. We're doing this with DMS only, which is lower OPEX, lower CAPEX, lower technical risk. So overall, just a much simpler flow sheet while still delivering a very efficient concentrate, which is excellent for us. So look, another slide on Mineral, where we're based, and this one more focusing on, I guess, the sovereign relationship that we have and really highlighting an agreement that we signed earlier this year. And to just give you a quick snapshot, so it was actually a collaboration agreement that the government came to us on, and the collaboration is around getting our project into production as quick as possible. And look, I'm from WA, and to think that the government will come to you and say, let's sign an agreement to get your project into production as quick as possible is very refreshing. I mean, they see the benefit. There's a competitor of ours that has just gone to market and it's going very well. So I think it's just worth highlighting that where you do see a lot of challenges for getting mines into operation very quickly, we're probably seeing the opposite. Look, it's not a walk in the park, and this collaboration agreement doesn't mean we don't have to walk through the permitting approvals and the environmental baseline studies, which we're doing because we do. But it just means that the government is really aligned with our vision, and that's to get into production as quick as possible. So from an ESG perspective, look, I said at the start of the presentation, look, there's no point, getting up here and saying we want to produce lithium, we want to change the world, lower carbon emissions, if you're, I guess, being a little bit blind in terms of your ESG footprint. And so, look, I'll talk a little bit, but I think our studies and our sustainability report that we put out each year probably do, I guess, more justice to the very excellent work that we're doing on the ground. But from an environmental perspective, look, I mentioned the hydro-backed grid, which is excellent from an energy perspective. Also the flow sheet that will have, dry stack tailings, recycled water. We're really trying to do the best because we want to stand out. One, because we want to make a difference, but also to off-takers and potential partners. It's very important that you do have a sustainable operation. And I think then in terms of social and governance, look, these are just anecdotes, but all of the employees, and that's 100%, there are no expats, all come from the local community, which is excellent. So very engaged community in terms of what we're trying to achieve. And again, look, I'll let our PEA and DFS, which are upcoming, speak more to this, but I think we're on a really strong footing with regard to ESG. So Sigma Lithium, look, I think I mentioned them. They're a company that we reference a lot. They're located 50 kilometres away from us in Mineral. They're not listed on the ASX, but they are listed on the NASDAQ and TSX. It's a 6 billion Aussie company at the moment, and that's really reflecting the fact that they've just gone into production. Their first phase will be about 300,000 tonnes of spodumene per annum, so that's about half of Pilbara. The reason why we highlight them is, one, they're close, but two, we think we're going to replicate their success or even succeed or even exceed. And the reason being is that we're seeing very similar mineralogy. The flow sheet that we'll adopt, DMS only again, is very similar to what they have installed. And really to enable that fast follower approach that we're taking is that we're using all the same consultants which got them across the line. So, their permitting consultant we're using, their engineering consultant, again, is supporting us, even with our PEA. So again, we think we can be them in 2 years' time, and the fact that they're a $6 billion company is, pretty exciting. So schedule, so look, just very quickly here, the first line there, I mentioned that there will be a resource upgrade later this year. There'll probably be another in H1 2024 in support of the DFS. So, very exciting. We'll see how big this thing can go. But also hopefully see some grade, increase. And that's what we've seen with the infill drilling so far. So again, in good shape there. The big milestone actually for this month though is the PEA. So we've been working on that, it seems, nearly 24 hours a day, and it's taking shape and it's looking very good. And we want to do the resource justice. So we've committed to get that out by the end of the month. So really pay attention to that if you're interested. And then the next big milestone will be the DFS, which will be complete by the middle of 2024. And then it will be a fast run for permitting, but also for FID before the end of next calendar year. Look, this slide we borrowed from Joe Lowry, and the point of it is to say that, and it's not just the USA, it's Canada, it's Western Europe, is that there's so much infrastructure being built downstream. But the key question is, where are they going to get the feedstock material from? And look, we think that our project and Brazil, but also South America, have a key role to play. So, we're fascinated to see this kind of roll out, and it's fair to say that most of the companies listed here are talking to us in some shape or form because they're desperate for feedstock. So from a board perspective, very quickly just saying that it's quite inspiring to be working for a company which is a founder-led business. So David and Chris have been there from day one. They've seen the lows, they're riding the highs, but their energy is really quite infectious. It's also probably worth highlighting Peter Oliver. So we're a hard rock spodumene project. Peter ran Greenbushes for 15 years. So a person or a professional of his calibre could work for any company in the world that is working in lithium, but he chose to work for us. And he's also incredibly engaged. A bit of an anecdote, I think I had about 3 phone calls from him on Sunday regarding our PEA. So a very engaged and enthusiastic board, which again for the team is very motivating. From a market perspective, I'll be very quick, I'm running out of time. We've had an excellent run, and it's really on the back in the last 6 months of reporting our resource increase. And so, we expect that to continue with our study and further resource upgrades. But I'll just quickly say a big thank you to shareholders, retail and institutional, and also the local investment banks who have recently joined. But the banks that we've got listed there, they were early investors in Sigma and they've done very well, and they see the parallels with what we're looking to achieve. Milestones I've already touched on, so more resource upgrades this year. PEA will come out this month, September 2023, and then we'll have the DFS by mid next year, so H1 2024. So thank you very much for listening, and please come and find me if you have any questions. Thanks very much. Yep.
Any questions for Mitch? I did have a couple.
Sure.
The resource upgrades, obviously November and then early next year. Can you set any expectations without breaking regulatory protocols?
Look, I can't, which is probably frustrating. But I would just say, look, we've been releasing assays quite frequently to the market, and I think the biggest thing, if I had to try to extrapolate, which I won't give any numbers, but we're seeing great continuity from the existing resource in the southwest direction. So it's going to get big. How big? I won't put a number to it, but it's looking promising. But it's also, I mentioned the infill drilling is also yielding excellent results. So we're seeing, kind of grades increase for existing areas, and so overall a very productive drilling program.
And you talked about the MET results being attractive and positive and comparing them to what else is out in the market. Can you give us an idea of how it does compare, how those numbers compare to maybe what's operating at the moment?
Yeah, look, I can. I think it's probably worth first highlighting is that the main spodumene jurisdictions in the world, or the main one, is really Western Australia, and Brazil is probably more the emerging. The benefit that we're seeing is that we have very low iron and low mica in the spodumene that we'll produce. We're also seeing very coarse grains. So to make that very simple for the other finance people in the room, is that it just means that the lithium's going to report to the concentrate very easily. So it is fair to say that the spodumene that we're dealing with in Brazil is a lot more, I think, easy to process. And so in terms of recoveries that you're seeing in Western Australia, look, the recoveries that we'll achieve, and it will be highlighted in our PEA in the next few weeks, are more aligned with what people are achieving in WA, but with flotation circuits. So about the same, but with a lot less OPEX and a lot less capital. So yeah, a lot more efficient.
Thanks, Mitch. Cheers. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks.